it's interesting to hear you. I mean, the one thing I picked up on then was you say that you go and you go around, you put the baits down, you come back the next day or the day after, you find some bodies, you collect them, and then you go and bury them. I mean, so it's interesting to hear that you have a very similar a similar attitude to us in the sense of pick up bodies, dispose of them responsibly. We think of that as something sort of like that is very, I wouldn't say UK centric, but very European centric. We are fantastic stewards of the environment. So it's really refreshing to hear that other people are considering these as well, especially when you talk about second generations, the rodenticides. So is yeah, I do. I will talk to my contacts about it. But yeah, how big an issue is it in Nigeria for environmental safety, environmental stewardship? Because if you're doing a lot of vector control, if you're doing a lot of broadcast control, is it a big thing to make sure that the environment isn't unduly affected from the baits, or is that your personal opinion?
Okay, well, environment here in Nigeria, you have all of these agencies, environmental protection agencies, who look into the use of pesticides, and also the making sure that all of these environmental issues are being taken care of. But however, it's not just about creating the agencies, but ensuring that those agencies are actually doing what they ought to do. Now, for example, here we have a situation where those who are supposed to be the regulatory agencies are even your competitors in the industry. They compete with pest control. Yes, they compete with you. So how does a regulatory agency that is supposed to regulate you as a pest controller become your pesticide and still carry out its regulatory responsibility? So it's a very big issue. It's a very big issue. And so at our own level, we are trying to work with them as best as we can as professionals, but especially when you get to, for example, a public space, or perhaps you get a job somewhere, maybe in a company, and the company is telling you that the person carrying out pest control within this environment is your regulatory agent. And so it means that you can't bid for that job as a professional pest controller. You can't bid for that job. So you just have to, if the company is okay with the services of your regulator, then they can go for it. But if they're not, maybe they have to shift to you. Consider that. So environmental issue is, environmental protection is a very big issue here, where especially when the regulatory agencies are competing with you. So it doesn't provide them that avenue to actually carry out the responsibilities that have been given to them. So what they are after is how they are going to generate more revenue for the government, not actually looking at the quality of the services that are being provided, and then also looking at what are the kind of pesticides that are being used. Are the pesticides that are environmental friendly, and all of that. So all of these things are being neglected, but we hope in the coming period that all of these things are being put right.
How do they generate the income then?
What did it say?
How do the agencies generate the income?
He says, how do the agencies get paid? How do they generate income? Is that something that the government give them, or do they get it from companies, or what? Where does your competitors get their funding from?
Okay, the agencies are directly paid, by government. They are being regulated. They are government agencies. So their primary responsibility was to enforce laws that protect the environment. That's their primary responsibility. But at the local level, I talk about the local governments. They see the need to generate revenue rather than protect the citizens, and so they place a task on the regulatory agencies to continue to generate revenue. And so what it means is that the regulatory agencies goes to bid for jobs. You know, they go to bid for the jobs. And so when they bid for jobs and you are there, there is this likelihood that the company might have this maybe kind of fear that the regulatory agency might clamp down on them, or they might have that, maybe that sentiment, to want to do with the regulatory agencies. And most times, because they are not core professionals, they do shabby work. I can remember during the COVID-19, there was a whole lot of problem because most of the regulatory agencies created problem for us, and we still have to be the one, those in the private sector, we still have to be the one to go out in the communities and carry out disinfection, free of charge. So these have become a problem, and it's an issue that we are looking into at the association level to see how we can, solve all of this problem.
So, training.
Trainings.
Yes, where do you get your training? What training do you do?
Yeah, we have a couple of trainings, annually, both at the level of Pest Control Association of Nigeria. We organize trainings. Even the regulatory agencies, in partnership with the regulatory agencies, we have environmental health officers, councils of Nigeria. We have Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency and all of that. So in synergy with all of these agencies, we carry out trainings, specifically, specifically on the use of pesticide, on the IPM, integrated pest management, and all of that. We also organize joint training from facilitators, collaborators across the globe. For example, in the coming period, I would, at the level of African Pest Control Association, I will be looking at how we can synergize with, MPTA and other professionals across the continent. How we can begin to, push further trainings to enhance the services that is being provided, here in Nigeria and also in Africa.
Awesome. So yeah, that's how do you manage? It's got to be such a huge administration task to try and train so many people, across. Do you do it across all 52 countries, or does each country have its own training standards, or are you trying to bring them all together under one umbrella?
Okay, at the level of African Pest Control Association, we organize trainings. All of our trainings has been virtually. Just a few days ago, we had a training in conjunction with New Farm and E&G Pathway. We had the training organized by the New Farm, and we're still going to have a continuation of that training on the 11th. If you've been going through my profile, so all of the trainings are organized virtually, via Zoom. And the materials are being shared to those participants to also go further, to study more. But when it comes to practical training, we are looking at, in the coming period, as we expand as an association, we're going to be having a magazine. We're also producing, it's called Pest Africa. All of this magazine are also going to have contents that are going to enrich, pest controllers within Africa. And we're also looking at, in the coming period, moving from countries to country to organize training, for pest controllers within those 54 countries. The work has just started, and I believe that we're going to make up a good team in synergy with other professionals, across the globe.
There are people listening to this who are probably champing at the bit to offer for to help do your training, but also there's been a couple of comments in here to send you over some traps and boxes and bits and bobs and kit there. So keep an eye out for that. So you don't have your training. It's not a formal structure. Do you have a license as a pest controller? Do you have to have a license, or can anyone become a pest controller?
Okay, you're talking about having like a pest control institute where you're trained. Okay, like an institute. Okay, well currently we do not have, aside from those who take up a course in environmental health, we do not have an institute currently where we carry out a pest control. But it's part of the plan. It's part of the plan of APCA to have a pest control institute here. I mean, in Africa, where pest controllers can come across the 34 countries in Africa and have trainings. What we have over time, individual companies, individuals moving to other countries. Like I have friends who have been to British Pest Control Association, one of the tier 1, tier 2 trainings, which are being organized by the British Pest Control Association. And also, so in the coming period, it's all of these ideas, all of this knowledge that have been gotten that would translate into establishing a proper institute here in Africa, where professionals can come from all over the world and begin to pass all of this knowledge and help in expanding the industry here in Africa.
So I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but how much does your association, how much does it look to the UK, to the BPCA and MPTA for direction on what to do? I mean, how do you look at our codes of best practice? Do you look at do you try and have a look at our training? How much are you looking at the BPCA and the MPTA for direction of how to do things, or is it just a nice to have? Because I have a follow up to this. Don't worry.
Okay, are you talking about the influence of the British Pest Control Association and the NPTA?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, the truth is, in life, you must subject yourself to learn from those that are perhaps, more knowledgeable. And also, it is not just about learning from the British, because when we get all of this knowledge, we also have our own peculiar issues. We have pests that we can manage locally using our own local method. For example, the issue of wall gecko and all of that. There are other areas, bio areas, without use of a pesticide that we can, we can manage locally here, using other methods and all of that. So the influence you've had, the British Pest Control has had is that over time, we keep learning from what you do. We keep learning from some of the local laws. We keep learning from some of the, for example, now we are also trying to expose ourselves to the use of AI, in controlling pests, monitoring pests, within facilities, without, actually being present, use of cameras and all of that. Those are being used. We're already administering some of those things, within facilities to monitor, to monitor pests. So all of these things are some of the things we learn from, not just from, the British Pest Control Association, the MPTA, but also from the National Pest Management Association also, and all of these continental association, because we just have to allow that influence to rub off us and, begin to provide a better service for our people here in Africa.
The reason I ask this, and not to get on a high horse, but for people listening back to this is why we should always hold ourselves to a high standard, because there is, we should always strive to be better. We should always strive to look forwards. We should always hold ourselves to those standards. I think that's a really great case study there. We have people in the UK who ask, why should we try so hard? And we should, because this should be, we should all around the world be striving to reduce the threat of pests against public safety, structural damage, food loss, contamination, and the rest of it. There we go. High horse off. I'm all done now. Sean, Hugh, you've got to have some questions. Stop me from talking.
No point in me saying
Hugh.
anything. Nobody can
Go
hear
on,
me.
Hugh, ask him a question and I'll ask it for you. Go on. What was it?
I can't remember now.
I will tell you what, I've got one because it's going to be totally away from everything we've spoken about now. What's the weirdest pests you have to deal with that we would never we would never get in the UK? What's the calls that you're like, whoa, what's going on?
The weirdest pest I've ever dealt with.
You have dangerous snakes or like big cats or anything like that?
Well, I would say owl. Owl invasion. Yeah, I hear when you have houses that are close to the forest, most time they are exposed to owl invasion. Owl, OWL. Yeah.
But these are barn owls, the big white barn.
Yeah,
Right, I have to tell you something.
Yes, so when
Something so funny, that is.
So when you have houses that are close to the village, to the forest, you have they leave their roof open. There are possibilities that owl can get into the roof and begin to multiply there, and so they become a problem in that environment. And so we are being called upon to take care of, to ensure that those owl becomes.
You need to use more rodenticide on your rats, mate.
And how do you control them?
We're laughing because in the UK, barn owls are one of the species that is under a lot of observation because of the impacts that our pest management processes are having on them. So for us, barn owls, we must never harm a barn owl. Barn owls are sacred to us. We mustn't hurt a barn owl. So for you to turn around and be like, yeah, my biggest pest is barn owls, it's so different.
Yeah. Do you get big snakes, dangerous snakes, anything like that?
Yes, we have most, especially homes that are close to riverine areas. They have issues with snake. But one thing about those homes is that because of the kind of environment where they are, when you take care of the rodents there, after a period of time, they are still going to have a repetition of that crisis because of the environment where they are. Unless you want to, and considering the fact that you wouldn't want to pollute the water. And so what you do is when such snakes crawl into the house, for example, I had an experience where we got into the house, they had a snake issue. We searched everywhere and we couldn't find a snake. We never knew that the snake had gone into the bag, the clothing bag, full of clothes, and we just treated the house. And some months after, the client had to relocate to another state, and he moved his luggages down to the other state, and opening his bag, he saw the dead snake inside his bag. So these are some of the weird issues we've confronted in the line of our duty.
Go on then, just for the sake of balance, Sean, Hugh, what have been the weirdest pests outside of our normal spectrum that you've ever had?
A snake. I've had a snake. Yeah. Well, no, I didn't even bother going out. I got a phone call one night at like midnight, and they're like, there's a snake poking its head out of the hole where the radiator pipe was. And I was like, they've been drinking alcohol. And then, a long story short, it transpired that they did have a snake stuck under their stairs, and it was the bloke next door who'd had an escapee. So he went and done it. But that's probably. And I've had an owl out of someone's kitchen as well, where living room, where it went down the flue. Yeah, went in, and there's a great big owl there. I've got a video of it. I'll tag you in the video. Hugh, what you had?
Not so much the pest, but the situation was.
So how were you able to? So when you have snake issues over there, how? I mean, especially when you have snakes, and you're at home.
We don't. Yeah.
You know,
the only snake issue we will ever have is where someone's kept it as a pet and it's escaped. We don't ever get like snake issues. We don't have wild snakes really that ever cause a problem.
Adders.
Yeah, but they never cause a problem, do they? Really?
They are when they're sat.
Oh, okay. How about bed bugs?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots.
it's a very big issue, you know, especially when you have to travel and they travel with you. You know, when you sit in a public bus and you see a bed bug strolling down the body of, you know, someone in the public bus, and you have to
No.
you have to quietly pick it from the body of the person, not to cause embarrassment and also not to raise. Yeah.
Let's be honest though, people listening in the chats, who here's brought home bed bugs and who here hasn't? And I bet you the number of people who have brought home a bed bug is going to be much higher than those that haven't. You say you've never had them?
No, I don't think that they don't travel on us very well. Like, just don't travel on us.
That's how they move.
No, they don't travel on the person. They don't know a lot of it.
On your. They travel on your kit and your stuff. Yeah, okay. I'm not saying it's going to be like you're bringing them on in your sweater, but in your kit bag, in your van, in your stuff. Never.
No. We just take your sprayer in, don't you? Boots on, sprayers on, and spray like hell, don't you? Yeah, I don't even think you have to do that. I've never I've taken fleas home. Fleas, you get a lot of fleas, Francis?
Fleas.
Fleas.
We really don't have much of fleas. What we have flies, then perhaps moths in food industries. We don't have much of fleas. The major pests we have here are bed bugs, mosquitoes, rodents, snakes in some areas, depending on where you stay. Bed bug is a big issue, and so if you're a pest controller here, you will have to deal with bed bugs, and you must master in dealing with bed bug, so that you don't embarrass yourself. Because you can administer treatment and you don't administer it the right way, and the bed bug continue to resurface in that apartment, especially in offices. For example, if there is a bed bug invasion in an office and they don't treat it as at when due immediately, some of the staffs might take the bed bug home. As at when you will come back to treat it, as a pest controller, when you come to treat it, so after treating it, some of the staffs that have taken it home will bring it back to the office. So these are some of the issues you could face, being treating bed bug here in Nigeria.
Yeah. Hang on a second. What chemicals do you use and what treatments do you use for bed bugs?
Majorly we use lambda cyhalothrin, pyrethroid here. We use lambda cyhalothrin to treat a bed bug. It works faster here. It works. Some of the time, some of the imported powders, we tried here. It wasn't working. I don't know, but perhaps the bed bugs here are tougher. It wasn't working. So we use lambda cyhalothrin, your pyrethroid, in taking care of any of your pyrethroid in taking care of bed bugs.
Yeah, we used to have a product called Demand CS, which was lambda cyhalothrin, and it was potent. I mean, it's something like lambda cyhalothrin is 30 times more potent than permethrin, whereas at the moment what we use is something like either alpha cyper or delta methrin, which for comparison's sake is between 8 and 12 times more potent than permethrin. So lambda is literally twice as powerful as most of the other products you have on the market. It really does. It's like nuclear weaponry compared to, you know, toy swords. It really is something quite big. But yeah, we haven't had lambda in UK now for professional use. How long for now, Hugh? It's been a little while. I think a lot of stewardship pesties probably would never have seen it.
About 5 years ago, wasn't there?
Oh, okay. So have you ever had an encounter with bats invasion?
Protected.
In the UK, bats are protected. So if you hurt a bat in the UK, it's a huge fine. So no hurting bats in the UK.
Like £5,000 fine per bat.
Yep.
Yeah, they will shut down whole building operations. You could be trying to do renovations on a building, and they'll stop you down because you possibly might have bats. And you'll have certain buildings, you'll have to pay for studies to be done on the building to make sure you don't have bats before you're allowed to build it, like touch them. And if a bat has roosted there, even if they're not there, it's still a protected roost and you can't touch it because they might come back to it.